Hi everyone, welcome back to Crazy Geek. So today's session we have Miss Mathura all the way from Malaysia, and she will be sharing in our topic with regards of bridging the gap between what we study in school or college and what we actually apply at work. Not only that, she's also giving a special sharing in terms of personal finances for students. So it's going to be very awesome sharing from. So hi Madhura, how are you? And you can share about your experiences and qualifications before we go into the session itself.
All right. So, hi guys, my name is Madhura. I am a junior director of Simply Boring, which is an outsourced accounting company. And then I'm also the co-founder of Ascendance, which is a Malaysian social enterprise that was started back in 2015. So we have worked with over 4,000 students across Malaysia and also over the world in getting them to figure out their passion and turning that into a career and living holistic life in a way. So right now in Simply Empowering, I focus more on accounting and also personal finance for millennials. So getting youngsters who are in our age to see how they can manage their finances better and set their life on the right tone at the start itself. In terms of what I did back then when I was in college and all of that, my schooling was just like any other person, public schooling and whatnot. But I went to Sunway to do my ICAW. In fact, right now I'm still doing ICAW part-time. I still have a few more papers to settle. That is what I'm doing in terms of studies, which is getting ICAW for Chartered Accounting. And I've also received like Diana Award, which is an award that is given for youngsters who do social change and humanitarian work in 2019. I also received the Mostar Awards in 2019, which is for student key opinion leaders in Malaysia. And I've also represented, was one of the top 4 finalists for EO GSEA. So if you guys are aware of EO, it's a entrepreneur organization across the world. And I was one of the finalists for the Malaysian division competition as well. So I think that's just a very brief intro of who I am and what I do.
Okay, thank you so much, Madhura. It's a great honor to have you as a speaker for this session. So I will dive into the session itself. So our very first question is there a gap between what you study in college or your school time and what you actually apply during work now?
Okay, gap between what I studied. I think there is different things. It depends on what we are looking at. Like personally, for me, if it is the theory part, yes, some parts applies to what I saw in work, but so the basic stuff applies. But other things, some complex things, I didn't actually encounter in work because when you first start work, it's not always like exactly what you study you will encounter it. So it wasn't exactly like that. But what I realized is there will be things we learned in schools and all of that will come into our work life, but there's a lot more other things that is there in the work life that is not being taught in schools. So things like soft skills or things like completing your work in college and universities or even schools. Your teacher will chase you to do your work. Your teacher will remind you 10 times to do your assignments and all of that. But in work, if you don't do, you are done. And it's your fault. There's nobody needs to remind you or anything like that. So there were other aspects of our discipline, our character. Those things I felt was not really connecting with regards to how I behaved in school and how I had to behave at work. So okay. Yeah, I feel like that is one of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that will lead to our next question, which is since you are running a company of building the younger generation, which is Ascendance Sdn Bhd. So what would be your advice for students at a very young age to bridge that gap?
I think what we do in Ascendance is kind of facilitate youngsters to bridge that gap in a way. So what we believe is that there's no such thing as you have to get a degree before you can do what you're passionate about or go and create the career that you are passionate about. So I'm not the only one. There's actually another co-founder of mine who's very impressive. Her name is Harsha. She started when she was 11 years old. So she actually started following other CEOs in their businesses to observe how they do their businesses and then learn from them. And then eventually like 13, 14, she already started doing things like making company calls, setting meetings with corporates, doing presentations, designing websites. She was doing this at the age of 15 and all of that. And then by the time she left school, she already started her own startup called startmyname.com. And like recently she went and launched a book. So it's like because they started at that young, she started at like 11 years old and not limiting herself as a student. She said, I'm going to do whatever I can do. So she actually started working with CEOs. She never thought, she never limited herself to, I'm a student, I can only study for now. I can only do assignments for now. Actually going out there and trying.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you will build up your experiences and you will be somebody who's very impressive that people want to work with. It's of course at the beginning everyone's like, what is wrong with you? Why you keep working?
Yes.
But eventually when you build up, people will be very impressed. I think you agree as well, right?
Yes, I totally agree because I have been following Ascendance. Actually, the main reason why I came into ET Ideas is because of Ascendance. So yeah, I do know about this. So what you're trying to tell here is at a very young age, get the exposure with regards of the reality. So get that exposure at a very young age itself, so that you know how to bridge the gap, kind of thing.
And work with people who can guide you on this. Don't go like just straight away try to go into things and try to figure out, because I know there's a lot of youngsters who just enter, like start a business on their own and all of that, but they don't have mentors to guide them.
Mm-hmm.
When we do that, there's a high chance you will fail, and then after that you are very scared to start again and go back there again. So having a group of mentors who can guide you will ensure that journey is smooth and you actually learn the lessons you need to learn. That's what was different for us in Ascendance and all of that.
Okay, thank you so much, Madhura. So the next one, if you have given a chance to go back to school, what would be your subject that you will learn full-heartedly beyond the books? This will be interesting.
Interesting indeed. Okay, what subject would I learn full-heartedly? I think I didn't really enjoy my sciences that much.
Okay.
So I was in full science stream. Probably what I would do is not go to science stream and go to art stream and like basically take the business subjects, and I would have genuinely taken more effort to learn that. I feel I only took accounting as an additional subject. Mm-hmm. And because it was an additional subject, it's like you go to tuition and there's no actually like actual lessons or anything like that. So it was, but I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed accounting a lot. So I feel like if I had gone for more of those business subjects, I would really take more effort to learn it and connect it to the outside world and, apply it in my life, like how I'm telling youngsters can do now and do that much better, I feel.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then next one. How do we be creative at our work or job when our job itself is very mundane and monotonous? Definitely we have gone through that. So how do you, what would be your sharing?
I can't tell how you can do it like at your current place, but I can share how I have done it in my life, right? So my scenario is a bit different. I ensured that I never got stuck in just an accounting job. So when it came to like me doing full-time work, I made the choice to work with Simply Bhd because I understand that I can get a bit more flexibility in the sense that I do outsource accounting, which means I am not stuck to one client. I can meet many different clients. So it's not like I'm just doing one accounts for the rest of my life. I'm doing many different accounts. I'm learning, and more new clients I get, more learnings I have. So that itself was me setting myself off in the right way, in a way. And also because I did not just limit myself to, okay, I'm an accountant, I will only do accounts work. So even in my in Simply Empowering, I would do everything. Like I would love, last time I used to do like social media postings. I would just do some random designs. But when I did all of those other things, I learned a lot. So that kind of like, it will feed off. It's not like your life is like, your accountant means you only that part of your life will grow.
Yeah,
it will definitely feed off each other. So when I started doing the other artsy stuff, or the like road shows, we'll actually go to road shows and just hand out flyers about Simply Empowering. It was so awkward, but I did those things, and it kind of helped me to improve the work I do in accounting as well. So it's like, you don't just focus on the work of accounting, do other things that helps and benefits the company you are in, and see how it flows into each other. So I feel like that's what helps.
Okay, so I think your scenario is a bit different compared to many out there.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of lessons that can be learned from you, Madhura. Okay,
Yep.
now let's go into the next question. What are your views for our current education system, and what are the few measures you are taking for the betterment of the education for the students as a whole?
Okay, I feel like the education system, in Ascendance we are very privileged because last time there's a very easy for anybody to complain, like, oh, it doesn't work, it's a not good system. There's a lot of people who do that, but in Ascendance we were very lucky to meet the people who actually do the work in the education system. So we met a lot of teachers through our work. We met a lot of ministry officials who do the work, and we understand that they put in so much of effort, especially the teachers. They work so hard to get the kids to really understand, get engaged and all of that. So I understand that it's a huge task, and being some form of a guide or teacher in Ascendance, I understand how much work it is to make sure every kid gets it. It's very hard. So I appreciate the work that they do. What we do in Ascendance is basically just to help the teachers to engage the students better. So we are just there to provide more assistance by doing the workshops that we do, the conferences. Like last year, we had this New Age Learner virtual conference, which had about 1,200 participants. So when we do these kind of events, we are getting the kids a bit more excited. We are getting them focused on their goals. We are getting them to think, what can I do to improve my life? When we provide this kind of additional stuff to the students, they become better students, and they will be able to also work with the teachers and improve their own education. I'm not going to go and fix everyone's education.
Yes.
I'm just going to let them, you can fix it, go and do it yourself. So that is what we do. I have a huge respect for the people who are doing the work right now. I know how much of hard work it is. So I think we must all give them like a comment for doing so well with so much of pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, Madhura, for sharing on that part. Our very last question for today's session on bridging the gap. Share with us your one mistake that you made when you were a student, which the adult you want to change at that point of time.
Go travel back in time and change.
Yeah.
That's a huge superpower. We all wish we could do that. Okay, it's as a student, I think I was actually a bit of a shy student. So I was quite participative in things, like I will go for the events, and I'll always be in the organizing committee for sometimes even the school organizes events and all of that. I will be in the organizing committee. So it's not like I did nothing.
Okay.
I was a useful student. But then I feel like I could have gone to the next level by being a bit more confident to present myself to the people who I got the opportunity to meet. So I got a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of people from many different industries, some CEOs and all of that, through the events that I used to organize in college. But I never really took the effort to kind of make that connection. So now I understand that it's something I should have done. It's something I have learned now through the work in Ascendance. So in Ascendance, you had no choice. I had to go out and speak to people and all of that. So it made me much more braver. But I wish if I had done that in college, life would be so much more different as well. So that's what.
Thank you so much, Madhura. I think now you can share about the personal finances for millennials.
I think it's not anything in specific or what. What I currently do in personal finance for millennials, or why I started it, is because personally for me, right, when I was in school, I like money. It's not, that's why I'm an accountant. I think all of us here who are watching this are probably in this industry because we like money. Or we found something interesting about it. So that's why we entered it. And then that is why I've always been okay with it. I even used to be the kind of person who's very crazy about getting people to track their expenses on their mobile app. I do all these kind of things. But the truth was, I never really worked or really looked at my finances properly. I never looked whether I was saving the right amount of money, whether I was spending it in a reasonable way, or I was just spending whatever I earn. I never really looked into these kind of things. So I feel like many people who are like me, when you enter into the working world and you start earning, you're not looking at this. You're like, finally I have some money. So I mean, because in college you're probably at budget with your parents' allowance and you're trying to manage that. So when you start earning, it's amazing. It feels good. So for me personally, I was like, oh, let's get a car. My father said, okay, maybe you need a car for the work you're going to do. I was like, yes, I need a car. And then I didn't care about what car, what installments, how am I going to pay for it. I didn't think about any of this. I just said, let's get it. So I'm making a decision without being aware. And then that's what most people do in our age as well. And then going into workforce, same. My salary as years goes on, it increased, but my expenses increased and my savings never increased. My savings was always there, and I was like, why? I'm earning so much more, but why am I not able to increase my savings? So what I do now is getting youngsters like you and me to see how we can work on that habits and kind of like get our financials more sorted out, so that we don't have to worry about an emergency or those kind of things, and really progress financially throughout our life long. So what we do, one of the main things I personally realized is you cannot do this on your own, because a lot of people will try to do this on their own. But when you are judging yourself, you are a nice person to yourself. You won't tell yourself you are horrible with money. You'll be like, you're trying very hard. You are always kind to yourself. So when other people look at your finances, they'll be able to see much more clearly, without any emotions, what is happening. And they'll be able to guide you better. So it was the same with my finances. When I started speaking to my mentor and like letting him know what I was actually doing in my finances, then you start finding all the weird mistakes. There were months I would like spend way more than I earn and I have no more money. 1 week more to go, no more money. So those kind of scenarios, my mentor actually helped me to come out of it and all that. So right now I work with youngsters to kind of like help them manage their finances, because having a stranger look at it is much better than they themselves looking at it. Yeah. So if you are a youngster who's in college, or you're stepping out into working world already, it doesn't matter where you are. I even have clients who are in college right now, but they are working and earning some amount of money. So you could be at either of those. You can work with somebody to manage it and learn about how to manage your finances now itself. You don't need to wait until you're a millionaire to get an advisor to manage it and all of that. And do it now, you're going to be much better later on. So get somebody to work with you. If you can always contact me and we can work together, or somebody else. Get somebody to work with you and get started on that. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because for sure you make mistakes.
Yes,
Until now, I make mistakes. So don't be afraid to make mistakes and try it out and have fun with it. So I think just a very brief sharing on personal finance.
So thank you so much, Madurai.